Welcome to Ice Cream with Authors, the podcast that brings mini author visits straight to your home or car. I'm Becca Werwell, one of your hosts and award-winning author of the Road Trip Rescue series.
And I'm Amanda Trumpauer, your other host. I write for Jesus lovers who dig dragons, detectives, and droids.
Imagine sitting down with your favorite scoop of ice cream and chatting with the authors who write the stories you love. That's exactly what we do here. Whether you're a kid or a grown-up who loves faith-filled chapter books and middle-grade adventures, this is the place for you.
Each episode, we dive into delightful conversations with inspiring Christian writers, discovering new books and sweet stories that nourish the soul. So grab your ice cream, get cozy, and let's share a treat together.
Hi friends, welcome to another episode of Ice Cream with Authors. Today we are talking to Meredith Davis. Meredith writes middle grade superhero fantasy. And so Amanda, since you also write superhero stories, I'm curious, what led you to write superhero fiction with your Power Pup series?
I wish I had a more specific answer for this. I just kind of love superheroes, and I couldn't tell you where it started. When I was a kid, we didn't have the Marvel movies, right? Like those came out when you and I were in like high school and college. So it's not like superhero movies were this summer staple like they are now of films coming out. We didn't really watch any superhero movies until I was a teenager. My earliest memory of a superhero movie, well, actually, technically, I was 4, and my grandpa showed me a very inappropriate Batman movie for a 4-year-old. My mom wasn't happy about that. But I think my actual first superhero movie that I chose to watch, I watched as a kid the really old, silly, campy, live-action Adam West and Burt Ward Batman TV show that was on in the 60s. And they have these really cheesy costumes and these really cheesy villains. And when they're doing their combat, there's these little pop-ups that pop up on the screen when they punch, and it says bam or it says pow, and it's like really fun, like kid style superheroes. So that's the first superhero that I can remember watching on TV. And then when I got older, I watched some of the more adult ones. But I love like the high energy, high action, but still very child friendly superhero vibe, which is a little bit specific. Most superhero movies are meant for adults. So don't watch them, kids, if you're too young. But I wanted to bring that safe action and the safe superheroes and just the fun, clean superheroes. I wanted to bring that to kids younger than what I had been able to watch the movies at the time. So that's why I wrote Power Pup.
Oh, I love that. That seems like a great reason to dive into the series. And it's something I really love about your books because I didn't grow up watching superhero movies. Well, like you said, too, there weren't those movies when we were young. But even now, I don't watch a lot of superhero movies, but I do enjoy superhero fiction written for kids because it has that same feel of like the bam, pow, like what you're talking about. It keeps you moving. It keeps you turning the pages. I've really enjoyed what I've read of what Meredith has written and the Power Pup series. And so I'm not sure if I'd ever write superhero stories, but definitely if God would put an idea on my heart for a superhero series, I would be open to it. Let's jump into our interview with Meredith.
Our guest today is Meredith Davis. Meredith writes middle grade books about super powerful kids, and all kids can be super powerful. Her superpowers include reading, grandmothering, and finding ways to fit more books into her Austin, Texas home. Meredith, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, we're delighted to have you here. And to start, since this is Ice Cream with Authors, we have to ask, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Okay, so I've been listening to your podcast and I've been thinking a lot about ice cream. And I love 2 things. So I want 2 choices. I want mint chocolate chip because I love chocolate chips and I love the color green. And then I also want a hot fudge sundae with lots of hot fudge, and I want whipped cream and I want sprinkles.
That's a great pair. Yes.
Yeah.
My husband is not into ice cream. I married him anyways, but I had to think about it for a second. The only ice cream that he will eat is Grater's mint chocolate chip. So you and he have a similar taste along that line.
We're already connected. I can feel it. That's awesome.
Meredith, can you tell us about the amazing adventures of Noah Minor and your first 2 books?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And these are actually my second and third books, but they're my first two fiction books. So you're right on that. So The Minor Miracle is about a boy named Noah Minor. He's 12 years old and he just happens to have a superpower. And then the Minor Rescue continues his adventures. So in book one, he finds out that he has the superpower and he spends most of the book like struggling to access it. Like he's got it, but he can't get it. And so he finally, when he does get it, he really misuses it. So those are the problems in the book one. And really, book one takes place both equally in the real world of like middle school and the basketball court and just normal stuff that kids encounter. And then also this like top secret training facility that looks like a karate studio, but it's actually training gravitars, which is what Noah is. And then book two, we take the whole crew up to New York City. So book two takes place during spring break, and Noah and his friends end up in New York City. This time Noah's like super powerful, and his struggle is with how he's accessing those powers. He's doing it in a really unhealthy way. Both books are kind of geared towards a superhero. So in the first one, he's really obsessed with Spider-Man. And the second one, he's really obsessed with the Hulk. And so he's struggling with anger, and anger makes him super powerful, but it's not healthy for him in the end. And so he's got to find a better way. And he's on a top secret mission to find the bad guy in book two. So that is it in a nutshell.
Fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love the idea of like tapping into a couple of mainstream superheroes that the kids might be familiar with and finding a way to tie that into your main character's arc. That's really cool.
Yeah, I just basically stole from these really great characters that are already out there. I guess I should tell you one more thing. Because what is a superpower, if you're wondering, is that he can manipulate gravity. And so it's kind of based in the world of science, just kind of like the seed of it is science, but then we take that and we run with it with our imaginations.
Oh, that is so fun. I have to say, I started reading The Minor Rescue. I read the first few chapters, really enjoyed it, and then realized, wait, what am I doing? I have to go back and read book one first.
Yeah.
And so that's where I haven't read a full one of the books yet, but I'm really excited to do so because these really are fun adventures and the creativity is so clear in your writing and with his superpowers. So let's talk more about superheroes. You've said before, and it was even in your bio, that we can all be superheroes. All kids can be super powerful. What do you mean by this?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think that especially in this world where we totally idolize superheroes, I don't know how many Spider-Man movies are out there, but so many of them. I think it's something that kids really look up to. And so what I really wanted to do with these books was to open kids' eyes to how they can be powerful in the everyday power of things like kindness and friendship and sacrifice. And so like when I do school visits with kids, I really try and open their eyes to like, okay, how are you powerful? And I do that in the book as well. So, at the beginning of The Minor Miracle, Noah is he's feeling very ordinary. And he's got these two really extraordinary best friends. Rodney and Haley are like really good at everything they do. And he feels very ordinary. And by the end of the book, now he's a superhero. He's got superpowers, but he recognizes that one of the most powerful things he had is their friendship. And he had that from the very beginning. But because he wasn't looking at them, he was looking at himself and he was comparing himself to them. He didn't see it. And so like really asking kids to like turn their eyes out and to see what's available to them. Like, what do you have in your life that is helping you be super powerful? And what can you do that you can give to other people? So it's not about like lifting yourself up so that people will idolize you. It's about like, how can you have an impact on somebody else? So yeah, friendship for Noah is definitely a superpower. And his friends, I have to try so hard to not give things away because there's all these surprises in the book. So I'm going to stop myself and not tell you what I wanted to tell you because I want to keep it a secret. So if you're a kid out there listening, there's a fun surprise in this book.
I really like how, based on what you just described there, I really like how like it's cool that your main character got a superpower, but the superpower in and of itself didn't solve the problem that he had. The problem that he had was something, it was an issue of personal growth.
Right.
And as storytellers, we know that that's kind of the best way to handle these types of situations because the readers are not going to have superpowers in real life, but we all have issues that we can choose to overcome, but it often requires personal growth. So I really like how you incorporated the superheroes, but you still made your main character like have that growth to kind of overcome and learn his lesson.
I need to like write all this down because that sounds really good. And it's true. You said it very well. So thank you. Yes, it's very much about personal growth and about recognizing what you actually have, but don't realize you have. So
Yeah.
you're right.
So superhero stories, in addition to the heroes, they also have villains. So
Yeah.
in your opinion, what are some negative forces that can make people seem powerful? And what are the positive forces that can be even more powerful?
Yeah. I love this question. So, in all of our worlds, we've known a bully, whether it's been in school or in the neighborhood or whatever. There are people that want to be more powerful than you and are going to bully you. And so that is very much a super villain, in our real everyday world. And so how to deal with that? It comes up really quickly in The Minor Miracle. There's a bully named Chuck, and he bullies Noah. He bullies Rodney, Noah's friend. And so, how do they deal with that? And we see this character that has a lot of popularity in the school. Like he's really looked up to. He's an athlete, but he steps between them. And so I talk to kids about empathy and about like looking at the people around you and who needs your help and how can you step in to help them. And it doesn't mean you like step into a fist fight. It means you sit down. I talk a lot about like the one person sitting in the lunchroom or the person that looks lonely and stepping out of yourself, out of your own circumstances to insert yourself in theirs and to be a friend to them. And you just never know the impact that that's going to have. It can be super powerful. And so, bullies is one villain, I guess. Sometimes the villain can be ourselves and our own expectations and what we think is going to be the answer, like you said, or the thing that's going to make us cool or important. And it's not how many likes you get on social media. And it's not being the winner of the swim meet or the one who sinks all the baskets at the basketball game. Not necessarily. And so the things that the world celebrates are not always the things that God celebrates. And it's not the things that make you. And it's not everything that your identity is wrapped up to be. And I wish that there were like medals and awards given to the friendliest kid and the one who stepped out of their comfort zone to help somebody else or the one who like lifted somebody up, that should be more celebrated in our world. So yeah, I think, ourselves, the bullies, those are just a couple.
Yeah, I agree that when you think of things that can overcome, like bullying and difficult circumstances in our life, so much of it is friendship. It's supporting each other. It's encouragement. It's those things that come when we can rely on God to give us the right words to say to a friend who's hurting. All of those things can bring so much power into really difficult situations.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
speaking of things that are powerful, you talk about the power of what if when it comes to telling stories. And I love this. And I had to talk about it because I often talk about the power of what if when it comes to specifically developing story ideas. And I love to talk to readers, especially readers who are interested in telling their own stories, about how you can take any ordinary moment and start asking that question, what if? And it can really take your imagination in creative directions. So I'm curious, what else can happen beyond birthing a story when we ask this simple question, what if?
Wow. I didn't know you were going to ask me this. My brain is thinking fast. Okay, so what can happen with what if? Well, I think we can go beyond what we thought that we were capable of, for one thing. So I often think back to when my kids were little and I had 3 little ones running around, and one of them had a dirty diaper, and one of them fell and smacked their head, and one of them, something else had happened. All of it's happening at the same time. And I look back and I think, how was I capable of that? But what if you are? What if it's not actually you? What if it's God that's helping you be that strong, capable person? I think that's one way. What if? I love the idea of like looking at people in the grocery store, normal people waiting in line, and thinking, what if this person is actually really incredible and I have no idea what their story is? And so I tease my kids. We moved into a condo for a while and we took the elevator every day. And before we moved in, I told the kids, hey, I'm going to be the story lady. And I'm always going to ask people when they get on the elevator, hey, what's your story? Because I just am fascinated by other people's stories. And that whole idea of what if, like, what if this person sitting next to me is incredible? And you don't know unless you ask. And so I think like pushing ourselves outside of what we're comfortable with it can lead to some really great things. I think with the Minor Rescue, the book too, there's this whole idea of the power of connection, like connecting with people, and not just the people that are your friends, but people that are strangers and even people that you don't like very much that have been mean to you. And I think the whole idea of tying that in with what if is like, what if we have something in common? And you don't know until you really start searching. But what if we could be friends? What if there is a bridge to connection with this person? And if there is, then that builds empathy. Then you actually can love your neighbor, even if your neighbor is the bully, And so I think what if it can be super powerful. That's a great question. Thank you.
I really resonate with that last example you gave. I was actually just having a conversation with a family member about how becoming a mom really helped me learn how to connect with other people faster, even if they were different from me. And you're right. You can ask yourself, what if the differences between you and another person are not that big of a deal? And what if you can still find a way to connect and develop relationships? And I kind of had a shortcut because once you have young kids, it's sometimes easier to make friends as an adult because I'm a mom, you're a mom. We have some mutual connections, even if our hobbies are different or our personalities are different, or maybe even our parenting styles are different. Like we kind of understand each other in some important ways. So being a mom has really helped me learn how to not worry about differences between me and other people because like, what if our connection is more important than the differences? So I really like that part that you brought out of that.
Yeah, I love that. I love turning it on its head and saying, what if there's something in common? And then what if the things that aren't in common don't really matter? Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And what if we have powers that we haven't even recognized? I mean, what if you are more powerful than you realize? I've got a 3-year-old who's grandson, and he is learning how to swim, which I'm so proud of him. But he's pretty timid around water, and so he goes to these swim lessons 10 minutes a day for 40 days.
Wow.
And it has been incredible to see what he's capable of. And I've loved listening to the coach and how she speaks to him and tells him, like, you can do this. You're so strong. And so I just love that even at age 3, you can kind of instill this sense of like, let's try. Let's just try. Yeah. And let's give it a go. Let's see what you can do. And then once you see that you can do it, wow, that's so great. Celebrate it. So
because honestly, the superpower of being willing to try is one of the most important ones, because if you're willing to try and fail and learn and try again, then you're going to be able to learn how to do anything. There's really not going to be many obstacles that hold you back. But if you're too afraid to try, or if you're too afraid to fail, you're not going to get very far.
Right. Yeah. I think what if is really closely tied to hope. And I think as writers, we know this so intimately, like the what if, like you just keep trying, because what if tomorrow you get the yes? After all the no's and the no's and the no's, what if there's a yes? And what if a reader like sends you an email and they loved your book? I just got a text today from my editor, and she had gotten a text from someone, like, talk about connections. Like, I'll never know this kid, but the kid has been reading The Minor Miracle, and their mom works at the publisher, and they were so excited because they got The Minor Rescue and they took it to their school and he shared it with all his friends. I was like, that just made my day. And you sent that like right before this podcast, and it just made me so happy. And so, yeah, you just never know when those happy little touches are going to come your way. So wake up just expecting it and looking for it,
That's amazing. So what is next for The Amazing Adventures of Noah Minor?
Well, The Minor Rescue comes out May 6th. And so I'm right in that. So by the time this airs, it'll probably already be in the world. But time travel back to April and just imagine what it must be like, because that is busy and it's all about like getting the word out there. And so I think it's really fun that the book is all about making connections, and that's what I'm trying to do, is just connect with readers and get the word out there and tell them about it. And thank you guys, because you're helping me do that. Like, this is a perfect way to tell people about the book, and so it's so exciting. So there's not a book 3, but the power of the reader is to demand what they need. So if you read book 1 and book 2 and you really love it, let me know. Get on my website and tell me, and maybe we can make book 3 happen. But in the meantime, I'm working on something else. I think as writers, we just always have another story in us. And so I'm working on a different middle grade. I'm working on some picture books. I'm being brave. I'm trying, just like you said. What if tomorrow I get the yes?
Yes. Oh, I love how that idea of what if and hope ties into even like talking about your writing and what's next. And I'm so honored that you get to be here with us, even though the episode won't air until after the release, but to get to chat with you before book comes out it's just a exciting, hope-filled time where you really get to ask that question, what if? And imagining the readers who are going to get to enjoy this story is really exciting. We are going to pause here and listen to an excerpt from the beginning of The Minor Miracle, the prologue, and chapter 1.
Chapter 1. I have always loved comic books, but if my life were a comic, it would have only one panel. Me falling 16 stories and surviving. When I was little, I thought I might be a superhero. I was all about capes and trying to fly. Zap, boom, thwack, the minor miracle saves the day. But I'm 12 years old now, too old to keep pretending. Superheroes are for comic books, not real life. Most of the 7th graders at Rimrock Middle School don't even know about my miraculous survival. To them, I'm nothing special. I'm just an average kid standing outside the library with my 2 extraordinary friends, Haley and Rodney, waiting in line to have our vision tested. Does it bother me? Yes. But I've got a plan that should earn me a spot among the gifted and talented at our school. Check out the dance flyers. Haley points to a flyer with glittery letters hanging on the wall. Come to the Starry, Starry Night Christmas Dance, December 17th. I came up with the theme at our student council meeting. She gives her ponytail a tug, keeping her straight, light hair neat and tidy and under control, like everything in her life. She makes straight A's, spikes volleyballs for our best team, and serves as our 7th grade student council representative. Basically, Haley is perfect. Hey, maybe I can put a band together to play at the dance, says Rodney. He plays trumpet in our school band, and he's cool. Pretty extraordinary for Rimrock, where those two things don't usually go together. Especially since most days he also has a circle imprint on his lips from doing his cheek-stretching exercises. His goal is to have cheeks that inflate as big and round as his jazz trumpet idol, Dizzy Gillespie, so he keeps a mouthpiece in his pocket for practicing. Thanks, Rodney, but we're getting a DJ. Haley flips open her planner. That's right. She brought her planner to the annual vision testing. It's like a security blanket for her, except less soft. She loves to fill all the boxes on the calendar with things to do, and then draw little lines through them when they're completed. Volleyball practices, karate twice a week at her dad's studio, student council meetings, homework, chores. She records it all. December 17th gives people 10 weeks to ask a date, if they want to. She counts the boxes on the calendar. Rodney makes googly eyes at us. Stop it, Rodney, we say in unison. And then I fist bump with Haley. He loves to tease us about being a couple someday, but Haley is more like a sister than anything. We've known each other since we were in diapers. The 3 of us are going together like last year, right? I ask. I'm down, says Rodney. But Haley is too busy looking at her planner to respond. Noah, you've got your first basketball practice tomorrow. Yes, she even puts my activities in her planner. I know. I got this, I tell her, and myself. Rodney and Haley know about my big goal to be seen as more than ordinary. I'll make headlines again. Maybe not the New York Times, but I'd settle for the Rimrock Record, our school newspaper. This week I found out that I made the A team as a 7th grader, so I'm on my way. It's usually only 8th graders on our school's best team, but Andy Coe did it last year, and it made him pretty famous, at least at Rimrock Middle School. Hey, Noah, says Rodney, pushing his dark-framed glasses up his nose. They have no prescription, but he thinks they make him look more like Dizzy. Maybe I could play at your games. Out comes his mouthpiece, and Rodney blows a buzzy sound with his own signature swagger, his cheeks inflating like he's squeezing 2 ping-pong balls. Up and down the line, kids grin at him. It's like a middle school superpower, the way Rodney can make people happy. Suddenly, the door to the boys' bathroom down the hall bangs open, and the tormentor, aka Chuck Gillespie, steps out. He's an 8th grade bully who walks around the school like he's a god, just because he plays football and basketball and runs track. He's one of the few kids at school who shaves, and he wears tight shirts so everyone will notice his big muscles. Oh yeah, and he's my new teammate. I look for the teacher who's supposed to be watching us in the hall, but she's nowhere to be found. Rodney is still buzzing on his mouthpiece. "Rodney, cut it out," I mutter. Chuck loves to torment all sorts of kids, but band kids are an especially favorite target. Rodney plays louder. Buzz, 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 buzz. I yank on his arm, which pulls his mouthpiece away from his lips. It's Chuck. The tormentor? I cringe at Rodney's loud voice. I told him never to use our name for Chuck in public. I cringe harder when Rodney turns, and they almost collide. "Nice lip ring," Chuck says. "Thanks." Rodney touches the indented circle. "These lips are solid gold." Chuck glances around, then grabs Rodney's mouthpiece and holds it above his head. What an insufferable clod, I think. Some of my best insults are inspired by my comic books, but I don't say them out loud as much anymore. "Dude!" Rodney tries to leap up and grab his mouthpiece, but he's too short. I'm not. I've grown 6 inches already this year. I reach to grab it, but before I can get a hand on it, Chuck backs into me, knocking me off balance. Hot anger rises in me, fast and explosive, and I feel like a shook-up soda ready to explode. I take a step to keep from falling, and Chuck never even turns around. Villain, scoundrel, scourge of the earth. More heat floods my body, cheeks to toes, and suddenly I feel squeezed, trapped. My clothes are tight and uncomfortable, sticking to me like I have static electricity. It's the cling. It sometimes happens when I get walloped with a surge of emotion. It's unpredictable, and nobody really understands it. The doctors never even came up with a name for it, but they deduced a strong emotion, like anger or fear, triggers it. I could have told them that. Chuck is focused on Rodney and doesn't notice. "You must be in Dorchestra," he taunts. Haley taps Chuck on the shoulder. "He's in band, not orchestra," she says. "Yeah." I try to sound as confident and cool as Haley while I pull at my clinging clothes. Mistake. Chuck ignores Haley and zeroes in on me, his eyes locking on the way my clothes cling tightly to my body. "What are you, some kind of freak?" he asks. Oof. A few kids giggle. "He's so weird. What's wrong with him?" I hear their whispers. Everyone is now staring at my stupid clothes and my red-hot face. "No, I'm your teammate." I wish I had a cleverer comeback. Chuck sneers. "Oh yeah? I don't remember seeing you." That's impossible. We tried out together, and we're on the same team. He must have seen my name on the roster. "I'm Noah." My voice cracks. I clear my throat and try again. "Noah Minor." Chuck is at least 3 inches shorter than I am, but I feel like he's growing more powerful by the second as he harnesses all the dark forces of middle school. "Well, Minor sounds like the perfect name for a nobody," he says with a villainous grin. "Ha!" Someone behind me laughs. "You've never heard the name Minor?" Rodney jumps in. "Noah's dad was Ted Minor. There's still a bunch of trophies by the gym with his name on them, and there are even some downtown at the university." It's nice that Rodney has my back, but I kind of hate that he threw my dad's name out there. Chuck raises his eyebrows, looks me up and down, and says, "Well, he didn't pass on his genes, because if you were that good, I'd know who you were. Why don't you buy some clothes that fit and stay out of this?" He gives me a shove. It doesn't matter that he needs to reach up to do it. He is still filled with a stupid amount of confidence, and he makes me feel like a little kid. I'm still trying to think of a clever retort when a familiar voice says, "Coming through," and Andy Coe parts the small crowd like God parting the Red Sea. "Hey, Noah." At least he remembers my name. Andy grabs Chuck's arm. "Dude, you can't be fighting in the hall. Coach will kill you if you get a detention and miss practice." Chuck gives Rodney and me a final glare, but allows himself to be led down the hall and around the corner. I swing between relief and humiliation. "Back in line," says the teacher, who finally appears when she's no longer needed. "I really think student council needs to do an anti-bullying campaign," says Haley. "What a jerk," mutters Rodney. "He still has my mouthpiece." "What a feckless dolt." "Good one." Rodney loves my comic book insults. He lowers his voice and asks, "What's with the cling? Why is it still—" He pulls at my shirt, releases it, and watches it stick to my skin again. "Clinging? It's lasting a lot longer than usual." When I was little, the cling ran through me fast, like a shiver or gasp, and was gone in seconds. Rodney came up with our name for it. He says it sounds like a cool villain name, as in, "The Cling attacks again." But there's nothing cool about my clothes sucking to me like they just came out of the dryer. And lately, it's been happening more frequently and lasting longer, too. It's getting worse. "I wonder if it's because of—" Rodney glances at Haley, then whispers a little too loud, "Puberty." I push him away from me, and Rodney laughs. Haley studies her dance poster like she has no interest in discussing puberty in the hall either. Rodney comes close and lowers his voice. "Don't let the tormentor bother you, man. Just calm down. Relax." I take a deep breath, and the cling slowly fades. My clothes gradually peel off my skin as the heat drains out of my face. "Hey, band dude," calls Andy from down the hall. Everyone, including the teacher, turns to look at him. "Yeah?" says Rodney. "Catch!" Andy tosses Rodney's mouthpiece like he's shooting a three-pointer. A shot so perfect that all Rodney has to do is open his hands and catch it. "Andy is such a good guy." Haley hugs her planner to her chest as he disappears around the corner again. If this were a comic book, the speech bubble coming out of her mouth would say, "My hero."
So, Meredith, what do you hope kids take away from reading your series?
I hope that they see that they can be super powerful. I hope that they're encouraged that like their everyday world is actually like surrounded with these minor miracles, which is, I love the title of the first book because the main character is Noah Minor and it's called The Minor Miracle. And when you read the prologue, when you hear it, you know why it's called The Minor Miracle. And so when I sign this book, I always tell kids, you are surrounded by minor miracles. Keep your eyes open. So the whole idea of the blending of this like kind of fantastical superhero world with our ordinary, in quotes, world, I hope that they just come away with their eyes wide open to looking at what's really going on around them and recognizing things they may not have seen.
I love that. Meredith has generously offered to give away copies of both books in the Noah Minor series, The Minor Miracle and The Minor Rescue, to our giveaway bundle for the season. So stay tuned for information later on in the season to find out how to enter.
So, Meredith, how can parents and teachers and grandparents connect with you to learn more about you and your books and perhaps even buy the books?
Yeah, so the very best way to find out more about me, about the books, to find links to buying, you can go on my website. It's meredithldavis.com. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at Meredith Davis Author. Sometimes I post really cute pictures of my grandson and lots of book news. And then I'm on Facebook at Meredith Davis. So I would love to find you in any of those places.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, Meredith. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a blast. I love you guys.
Thanks for joining us on Ice Cream with Authors. I hope you enjoyed our chat and found a new favorite book or author to love. Remember, the adventure doesn't end here. There are always more stories to discover.
If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. If you want to keep the conversation going, send an email to icecreamwithauthors@gmail.com with your comments or questions. We might respond in an episode to come. Until next time, keep reading and sharing the stories you love.